the slap fight between Queen Victoria's grandchildren that turned Europe into a 4-year war-torn hellhole, aka World War I. Invented June 28, 1914 by this guy with a pompadour when he shot and killed the heir to the Austria-Hungarian throne, Alexander Kapranos. Pompadour Boy was a staunch anti-environmentalist, and he mistook Alexander for a rogue palm tree. Fearing for the safety of the Austria-Hungarian princess, this brave Serb took action and eliminated the potentially dangerous foliage before it could hurt anyone. Feeling very proud of himself, Mr. Pompadour traveled to Vienna hoping to collect some kind of reward for jumping into action without hesitation to save the princess. Upon his arrival, he was arrested and injected with tuberculosis. Okay, I'm already sick of saying this nation's long-ass name. From now on, I'm referring to them as AH. The AH government was quite rattled by the fact that the Serbian government did nothing to stop this madman from killing their prince, and the fact that the Serbian government did nothing to stop this madman from walking into their capital to presumably kill more of their royal family. Due to this, the AH government sent the Serbian government a strongly worded letter via homing pigeon, or however the fuck people communicated back then. This letter contained an ultimatum which demanded that Serbia either A. fuck off on their own free will, or B. be forcibly fucked off by AH. Serbia chose option 2, and we got the wheels spinning for this grand old time. Now you might be wondering how the death of one person, who honestly wasn't all that important, caused one of the biggest conflicts in human history. Here's an awful analogy to explain it. The death of that Austrian dude certainly lit the match, but the room everyone was standing in was already full of gasoline. You picking up what I'm putting down here? Everyone was on edge, just waiting for someone, anyone, to step out of line so everyone could go apeshit. A Russian dude visiting friends in Germany could have said Nazdrovia instead of Prost, and Wilhelm probably would have lost his entire goddamn mind over just that. I mean, come on. It had been 100 years since the last real major war that fucked over millions of lives in Europe. And you know how people are, they get antsy if they don't fight someone every few decades. You also might be wondering why it's called World War I. At the time, this was the only World War, so numbering it seems pretty useless. Well, you see, just like all major productions, the World War cinematic universe was meticulously planned out from the beginning, and its continuation is largely based on whether or not it continues to be profitable. Now with that overly long setup out of the way, let's go through this war to end all wars year by year. God, that's a great tagline, isn't it? The perfect misdirection. I tell you, whoever's the executive producer of this World War series is a fucking genius. So war begins in 1914, and as usual with the onset of war, there's a handful of nations who decide they'd rather not partake this time around. Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Portugal, and Switzerland all declare their neutrality. Even Italy, despite being allied with AH and Germany, decided they're just gonna sit in the stands and spectate this time around, but they'll give their full moral support for the whole thing. Spain declares themselves the absolute most neutral any nation could possibly be, which is kind of overkill in the neutrality statement and probably should have raised some alarm bells to Spain's true intentions. You see, the Spaniards were working on a top-secret super weapon and didn't want warfare to destabilize their research efforts. They intended on staying neutral, but only until their WMD was ready for deployment. Shortly after Serbia ripped up the letter AH sent them, AH asked Germany if they'll have their support when they go to kick Serbia's ass, and help them out just in case Russia tries to interfere. Germany, being the always reliable ally they are, say of course, and issue their own ultimatum to Russia. And while the Russians are still reading through the demands, they declare war on them. Despite both nations' primary language being German, there happened to be some kind of communication breakdown between the two parties, because their strategizing went something like this.
Okay, so I'm invading Serbia, and you're going to assist with that invasion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so could you send troops northeast to try and block off any Russian troops that are sent to support Serbia?
Actually, all my troops are already in France. Sorry, what did you want again? With Germany busy beating up Luxembourg and Belgium in order to get into France, AH was left to fight Serbia all on their own, which really shouldn't have been that much of a problem, but Serbia decided to go all Buster Douglas on their ass and produced quite the upset. Russia didn't even really help all that much. I mean, they wanted to, but they were kind of preoccupied with a certain red tide that was brewing. So the Serbian campaign wasn't going too hot for AH, and the French campaign wasn't going too well for Germany either because the UK decided to get involved. So at the end of the year, Germany and AH called a timeout and all the troops went home for a few months as the duo reformulated their plan. Also, while the fighting was going on, the Ottoman Empire heard some commotion, and they wanted to play with all the cool European kids, so they joined in too. Not much happened in 1915. Everyone was really surprised the war lasted longer than 6 months, and now they had to take some time to reassess their goals and strategy. Germany and AH's main goal was to win and not lose. The Ottoman Empire was just happy to be involved. Britain and France wanted to get Germany and AH to fuck off as fast as possible. And with the Ottomans now involved in the war, Russia kept screaming about retaking Constantinople in some kind of crusade. All this talk of crusade caught the attention of the Italians, who quickly resigned from their support of Germany and AH and joined the other side of the war. This whole switching sides thing is something Italy really likes to do. Get used to this. Something to keep in mind was that the early 20th century was a time of great progress for humanity in terms of industrialization. Technology was improving at a rate faster than ever before, so these great nations had plenty of new toys to try out during this war. And one brand new invention saw more widespread use than any other, and that was the shovel. You see, most European generals were still stuck in their old-timey ways. Their general plan of attack was walk forward and get shot. This wasn't working well, so they switched it up and started digging holes and tunnels. Everywhere you look, holes and tunnels, for miles upon kilometers. You ever seen the movie Holes? Yeah, that's World War I, except more holes, less Shia LaBeouf, and more war crimes. It showed a clear change in planning. Rather than walk forward and get shot, instead everyone just sat still and hurled bombs of chlorine gas at each other. This resulted in a very lackluster spectacle, making World War I one of the most critically panned installments in the World War series. 1916, 2 years into the war, spectators from around the world are getting tired of this poor wartime display. I mean, come on, war was supposed to be a cool, fun time for all, where you get to go off and fight for the glory of your nation. But this? This is just a bunch of dudes digging holes in cold, marshy ground and then dying by the thousands whenever someone accidentally trips over a container of asphyxiate. And for what? Just because a bunch of old dudes with cool mustaches didn't like each other? Fucking lame. So many nations from across the globe decided to join the fight against Germany and AH to get this disappointment over with. Japan joined in, and taking a page out of Germany and AH's book, they sent an ultimatum to China. China responded with only a confused glare, seeing as how they were on the same fucking team. Brazil got involved, as did pretty much all of Central America. Canada got involved after the Germans accidentally sailed past London and just kept going and instead bombed the fictional city of Halifax. After about the 12th munitions factory to be blown up by German agents, and Mexico snitching on the Germans for trying to orchestrate an alliance against the US, America finally got off their fat ass to, fucking do something. And multiple more European powers stepped in to help put an end to their neighbors' squabble. Romania, Greece, Albania, Transylvania, Montenegro, Armenia, among others. Transylvania was quickly invaded and conquered by AH before they could effectively organize their worldwide network of vampires. Romania's entrance into the war, however, was not stifled, and it was essential for breaking the stalemate that was the Eastern Front. Their battalions of powerful gypsies wielding unwieldy sorcery turned the AH armies to dust. Literally. Near the end of the year, Grigory Rasputin was executed, 5 times, in Moscow. A group of nobles feared that Rasputin's level of influence was growing too great in their nation, so they removed him from the picture entirely. Little did they know that this cosmic wizard's powers were the only thing holding back the red tide, which continued to grow more and more powerful, and in the upcoming year all of Russia would face the consequences of the noble's choice. And there was a bunch of battles across Europe and other places, who fucking cares? 1917, with Romania cracking through the stalemate that was the Eastern Front, it was time for someone to crack through the West, and that someone was the United States of America! And Canada. You're probably wondering why I've yet to mention any single battle in particular. Well, that's because in the Canadian education system, when learning about World War I, we're taught about one battle, and one battle only, the Battle of Vimy Ridge. Like pretty much every other battle in World War I, the Battle of Vimy Ridge was a painful stalemate between two groups of European dudes digging holes at each other. So the Canadians get there, and the British commanders are like, okay, we've tried sitting on our holes, and we've tried walking towards the German holes in a straight line, and neither are working in helping us take the ridge. So the Canadian plan was to start by sitting in their own holes, then, instead of walking in a straight line at the Germans, they run in a zigzag pattern so they can't hit them with their bullets, and then take the Germans' holes one by one. That sounds kind of gross, actually. The tactic was a resounding success. With this newfound strategy of not getting shot, the Western Front was broken wide open for the French and British to completely overpower the German army. As for the Canadians, after they took Vimy Ridge, they promptly went home. This is what the Canadian Armed Forces always does. They set themselves one clear goal, accomplish it, and then leave. In World War I, it was take Vimy Ridge. In the War of 1812, it was burn down the White House. And in World War II, it was...
Whoa, dude, no spoilers,
Oh, sorry, my bad. After the toppling of AH, and with the Allied nations closing in on Germany, Pope Benedict XV got the nations together in order to remind them what Jesus would do in a time like this. That's right. He would remember to crusade and religiously liberate some land from the infidels, so all the Allies quickly turned their attention on the Ottomans, took Constantinople, and then went back to focus on Germany. Shortly after this, Russia unceremoniously exits the war, as without the mystical powers of Rasputin to hold back the red tide, it had grown out of control and consumed almost the entirety of the country. And from the murky maroon bed of dinoflagellates emerged a balding, slightly agitated-looking man who just really liked the concept of sharing. In 1918, the war was coming to an end. Major leaders from France, Britain, and the US were already picking out which part of the Rhineland they were going to put their new summer homes in. All the allies from around the world had finished fighting whatever the closest German colony was, As the Allied forces pushed deeper and deeper into German territory, it became pretty obvious that the war was a lost cause, and everyone was super pissed at Wilhelm II for losing. Fearing that his participation award would be a bullet to the head, the Kaiser ordered one final operation before scurrying off into exile. This final operation was an aerial bombardment of 10 cities within the Allies. These cities were chosen essentially at random, but the bombing of one in particular had a devastating effect on the entire planet: the bombing of Madrid. Remember that super weapon Spain was working on? Well, it was being worked on and contained in a laboratory in Madrid. With the war coming to an end, it seemed the newly made WMD would never see the light of day. However, when the laboratory was struck in the bombing run, the weapon was unwittingly released into the general public. This super weapon was a biological weapon developed to devastate large groups of people who were all in one small concentrated area, like soldiers in holes, or people in cities. The weapon was a genetically altered variant of the H1N1 influenza virus, officially named the super pestilent amazing new influenza sending you to hell, or Spanish flu for short. The original plan was to release this superweapon on enemy encampments and provide vaccinations and an antidote to any and all allied peoples to prevent them from succumbing to the disease. Unfortunately, with the accidental release of the disease, it began ripping through city populations without a fully developed vaccine or antidote available. The disease went on to kill about 5% of the world's total population on its indiscriminate path of destruction before a cure was finally developed. This backdrop of death and decay was the perfect setting for the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, which brought about the death of the German Empire. The Treaty of Versailles basically said this: this war was all Germany's fault. Germany is big dumb. Germany is grounded until further notice. Stay in your room, no TV, no iPad, no Xbox, no computer. Germany has to pay $100,000 million billion in damages. Germany is not allowed to have any planes, but you can pick your 6 favorite boats to keep. Your standing army can consist of, at most, 500 poorly trained soldiers, and they all have to share 30 guns. Germany gives up all their land in Africa and Asia. Germany also gives up a bit of their land in Europe because fuck you. Austria-Hungary is broken up because everyone hated saying the name Austria-Hungary, and Austria and Germany are no longer allowed to talk to each other. Oh, and also split up the Ottoman Empire, because why not? At the end of the war, everyone reflected on what had happened and agreed that it was total fucking shit. War just isn't cool anymore, and everyone should try and avoid it at all costs. So the League of Nations was established, which was a globe-spanning alliance which ensured world peace, and everyone lived happy, peaceful lives for the rest of time. Until Germany demanded a salty runback screaming best of 3. But that's a story for another time. And now a quick shout out to some of my patrons: Rodrigo, Damien, Cole, Snaby, Juice Goose, Andis, Ben, Buddy from the Rock Me Son, Citrus L Thrust, Colin Fire Sr., Daniel, Doffy, Magnum, Hooded Angel, Jack the Yak, Michael, Nathan J, Nathan K, Nick F, Rain, Retard Alert, Samuel, Informed aka Sean, Sebisbob, Snackawoo, Thugginator, Veringe Torix, Zachary, and Xander Cage. And now a word from some of my patrons. Hey Informed aka Sean, if you're gonna call a nigga a secret trap, you gotta call him a double trap, not to be confused with a double bluff trap. That's a chick pretending to be a chick. A double trap is a dude pretending to be a chick, pretending not to be a dude, pretending to be a chick, you goddamn troglodytic waste of semen. If Misinformed found a misinformed, would this inform disform... Okay. If Misinformed found a misinformed, would this informed disform and dismisinforms malformed cis and scorn? Or would Misinformed reminisce and list to misinformed informed lists brainwashed by Lil B? Whew. And Frank for Smash. I was thinking of how our boys did in the Royal Newfoundland Regiment when they shipped off to help fight, but it really just boils down to, wow, did we get fucked up? 6 sick hicks, Nick 6 slick bricks with picks and sticks. 2 tries, not bad. I like my women how I like my Dakimakura. Soft, willing to get in my bed, and doesn't complain when I kick in my sleep. Du bist behindert. I've definitely pronounced that wrong. Austin, you freaking nerd, if you don't start working out, you're gonna struggle opening doors all your life. Come on, man. Come on, Austin, dude, get fucking huge. Real 20th century niggas know how to grow facial hair and flex on them baby-faced betas. Traps are not gay. Miffo was wrong. I'm not letting this go. It's not your girl. It's just your turn. Hey, Supreme Meme here with a quick announcement. I don't want to see any cocks, vages, or anal cavities. Culos and milk sacks are okay though. You guys have been pretty good, but no gooning around. From yours, Sir Supremeth Memanisis.